Okay, boys and girls, another thing that we can do to help us understand what's going on in a text is to think about the character perspective. So the character perspective, when we were talking in our previous lesson about the point of view, you're trying to think about who is telling the story, but you might have also heard someone say, well, think of that person's point of view. When we say that, we're talking about the character's perspective. So you can do that by thinking with empathy. And remember in school we talked about empathy is to kind of think about how the other person would feel and what you might do to in that situation to help them out. So we can think about how is the character feeling in that point. And you can do that by putting yourself in the character's position. Have you ever been in a situation like that? What would you do? So using that connection, what might the character say or what might the character do? And you can also look at and pay attention to how the other characters are treating him or her, and then how does the way that they are treating him or her affect that character. And in that way, you can get a good idea of the character's perspective. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at another book you're familiar with, Those Darn Squirrels. And if you remember in Those Darn Squirrels, Old Man Fookwire has a bunch of bird feeders, and he loves birds, and he wants to keep the birds around. So he has a problem though. He builds these bird feeders for the birds, but the squirrels keep coming in to eat all of the bird seed, and he gets really, really frustrated. So what you could do to help you really understand the character perspective is to be thinking about the characters in the book. How are they feeling? What may they be doing based on the other characters? How are they feeling? So if we're looking at the perspective of Old Man Fookwire, we might say that he's feeling frustrated, angry, hopeful. Maybe he's hoping the birds will stick around, okay? So now I want you to think, boys and girls, and you can pause the video here, from the squirrel's perspective. So you've got to think about this. The squirrels see Old Man Fookwire feeding the birds, being kind to the birds, and doing all these wonderful things for the birds. And then they're also noticing that every time they figure out how to get into the bird seed, Old Man Fookwire tries to change it and come up with another design so that they can't get to the seeds. So I want you to think for a minute, and you can just jot down on a piece of paper, or even say, how might the squirrels be feeling based on that? Okay, so you might have said the squirrels maybe are also feeling frustrated, okay? Maybe they're feeling jealous, right? Because he's being so kind to the birds and not to them. Maybe the squirrels are feeling motivated to get to the seeds, okay? So now we want to look at the birds. So let's think about the birds. The birds are being treated wonderfully. They're getting all this bird seed. I want you to think and do the same thing from the perspective of the birds. If you were the bird and you're one of Mr. Fookwire's birds that he feeds, what might you be feeling? Okay? What are some of the things you might be feeling? Oh, good. You might be feeling happy, maybe loved because he loves you. You might be feeling happy, loved. You might be feeling secure because you're going to get your food. You don't have to worry about it at all, okay? So you want to take a look when you are reading your books, and you want to think about the character's perspective, or this perspective from the other individuals that you're reading about, to help you really understand. And again, the way that you can figure out perspective is to be what we call empathetic. And which is when you are thinking about how the character is feeling, think about how the other characters are treating that character, okay? And how does that affect them? What does that make? Maybe that makes them change the way they do something. Maybe it makes them react in a certain way. Maybe it makes them feel a certain way. And be thinking about that throughout your reading, and also kind of notice, does the character change their perspective at all throughout the story? Okay, thanks for watching.